Hey guys, so I decided to make a video because what I want to say would just take too long in a Facebook post. What this video really is about is me telling you a little bit about my experience of being a judge in a gin judging competition, and also then my opinion on the actual award systems in South Africa. And I'm particularly talking about those little gold stickers that you get on some bottles. Now, um, let's start at the beginning. I was approached by or called by the Sunday Times asking me to if I would be a judge in the Sunday Times lifestyle gin competition. And my initial reaction was, I'm definitely not qualified to be a gin judge, and I did tell them this. And then they explained to me what exactly they were looking for, what the criteria was, what the categories would be, and also who the other people would be, who the other people were that were judging. Um, Not without any trepidation did I then decide to take it on. I was mostly just worried that I would choose a crappy gins, and this would be posted all over South Africa in the media, and I would just embarrass myself as being someone that I think people trust in the gin industry in South Africa, to tell them what's good and what's not. But it was an incredible experience, and it definitely changed my perception around gin forever. Um, so I'm really glad that I got the experience of sort of seeing this behind the scenes world of how a gin competition could work. Well, this particular one worked, and basically what it was is that we were given a neat spirit. So it was a blind tasting. You were given the neat spirit without any identification. You would then have to judge the aroma. You would have to judge the neat spirit taste, the aftertaste, and then with tonic, what it tasted like with tonic. Once you did that, the auditor would make sure that you've written your scores down. They take away the gin, and then they would um, bring the bottle and show you the bottle, and then you would have to judge the packaging and the bottle, as well as the logo and the design. So you got a definite general sense of perhaps what a consumer would be looking at if they're standing in front of a shelf. Um, because a lot of people buy gin because it's in a pretty bottle. In fact, it's about 80% of gin purchases goes around the bottle. And then a lot of it is also based on price. And as we know, craft gin in South Africa is expensive. So if you're going to put an expensive price on your gin, make sure that you're giving people proper stuff. Having said all of that, what I did find is that a lot of spirits were graded quite highly because of what they tasted like, and then they lost points on packaging. And similarly, a lot that would taste terrible gained points on packaging. Um, and that was an interesting dynamic for me. And it was also interesting because once I realized what gin it was that I had just had, and if I had a preformed opinion on that based on having reviewed it in the past or having tasted it somewhere in the past, that prejudice was completely gone from this blind tasting environment. You didn't know what you were having. But had they presented that bottle to me first, I would go, oh, yeah, that's that one I tasted. It wasn't very lekker. And I would have probably judged it down because of my previous experience with it. So I liked the fact that it was a complete blind tasting. It surprised me a lot. In fact, Gordon's was one of them that really surprised me. I graded it pretty high um, in the scale of things. And even when I had to subjectively look at the packaging, I went, sure, well, it's a unique bottle, and they actually did a lot of effort with the logo design. But on a shelf in a shop, we kind of associate, especially me, when I in my craft world where I focus on South African craft, I sort of associate it with cheap and nasty. But actually, it tasted really, really good. It was everything I was looking for in a gin. I was looking for that juniper forwardness. I wanted to be respectful to gin. I wanted to be respectful to the history of gin. When I look for gin, particularly, that's my criteria really. Um, so when it comes with an artificial flavor or an artificial color that you can, and guys, I have to stress this, you can pick up an artificial flavor in a gin. You can pick up an artificial color in a gin. And those gins do not belong in the same category as proper crafted gins. Yet we have gins like that who are getting little gold stickers on them, which is, in my opinion, just confusing the hell out of people who stand in front of a gin shelf to buy a gin. The award systems, in my opinion, are supposed to award excellence. But what we have right now in South Africa is we're awarding excellence next to mediocrity. So in the same category, we have a phenomenal gin, and it's awarded the same grading as a gin that, in my opinion, doesn't even should be embarrassed that they even sent their gin in for an award. Okay, so it raises, sadly, I thought it would answer more questions than I had, but unfortunately it's raised more questions for me, because now I'm wondering, how can they get it so wrong? The four of us, and by the way, I have to say the other three judges were exceptional human beings, and we had a lot of fun, and we learned so much from one another. It was a really incredible experience with incredible people. We, in our inexperienced capacity as gin judges, we were able to discern pretty quickly what was good and what was not. And when the bottle came, we were pretty spot on most of the time. Later on, I'm not talking about the top 4 or the top 10 really, but after that, our individual palates started shining, and one judge would have maybe found the floral notes a little bit better, and I would have again been looking more for how far does this juniper take me. That came through later on, but generally around the excellent spirits, there was a definite distinction between what was good and what was not. So I struggle to understand why we have an award system giving 64 double golds to gins who are vastly different. There are exceptional gins in that lineup who definitely deserve that, and there are gins in that lineup that simply do not deserve even to be there. So it's very confusing. I don't understand why that happens. I don't know if the people have to pay to enter the competition. I don't know if they have to pay to have the stickers on their bottles. I don't know if this is a money-making thing, but someone is screwing up colossally, because at the end of the day, the person who makes this industry what it is the consumer. And once you lose the trust of your consumer, your industry is going to fail. Unfortunately, we have people in the industry, guys making exceptional gin, who don't trust the system enough to even send their gins in. So we have really amazing gins not even featuring in the South African media space, because they just refuse to enter their gins into a competition where they're categorized next to what I perceive as fake gins or as poor quality gins. So it's a very difficult space that I find myself in, that not only I find myself in, but that Gindup also finds herself in. And I'm specifically referring to her because she did a post yesterday regarding the awards, and she quoted me in that post as saying that the gin awards seem more like a participation award. It's like when you were 9 or 10 years old and you ran a race, first, second, and third got a medal or a certificate. Nowadays, 12 people enter and 10 people get a medal, or at least a certificate. And for me, we're just not awarding excellence anymore. We're awarding mediocrity. We're so used to just awarding mediocrity, and it shouldn't be like that. We should award excellence. I personally don't think that there are, in the 35 odd international gins that there were, I don't think I graded more than 6 of them above 80. Maybe it's because I've got very high standards when it comes to gin, particularly because I've been duped in the past. I've had some gins on my page which were questionable as well, when I didn't know any better. Now that I do, I scrutinize them a little bit more than I usually would have. Same with the national category. I don't think there were more than 10 gins that I grouped as above 80. There were a lot of average gins. there were some that were exceptional. I think there were 3 or 4 that were exceptional to me, and then the other ones, sort of tapered from there. How we have 64 gins out of, that's more than half that entered, that are receiving the highest accolade, is beyond me. There must be something wrong with your system. There must be something wrong with how you're grading them, or who is actually judging them. But that shouldn't happen. So my personal opinion is we should be careful. We have to be careful, because we're rewarding excellence. So, and for the excellent gins, they're very proud of their awards, and so they should be. Now, who am I to minimize the fact that they just won a double gold in an international gin awarding system? I'm nobody when it comes to that. My fear is that now we stand on a platform and say these awards mean nothing. That's dangerous, because for the people who won them, it means something. And especially, and I'm particularly talking about people who do things the right way and who create exceptional products. Suddenly we illegitimize their products because we're saying, well, this means nothing because a poor quality gin also got the same award, and that poor quality being based on our opinion. So it's a very difficult space to be in. I really didn't sign up for this at the beginning when I created the Bearded Gin Guy, and when I just wanted to show people what was out there and have fun with this character. But I do realize that I have a responsibility, and I have responsibility to the followers, particularly because the followers are really what made this. Yes, the players in the industry are important as well, because they send me their products to review. But for me, the most important is you, the consumer. So I just wanted to share my experience a little bit behind the scenes of what actually happens at a gin judging and how we grade a gin. And then also my opinion on how I feel about other award systems. I'm not particularly talking about the Sunday Times award system, because it's a very different thing that they were looking for. But I still think we got it pretty spot on. And I think if you were able to release a top 10 of them, you would find that we got it pretty much right up until about the top 10, and then after that it definitely became more varied as to what our preferences were. But the top 10 is still the top 10. They're not the top 64. So yeah, that's just my opinion. Thanks for watching this video. Sorry it was a little bit long-winded, but if you care enough about the industry, and if you care about what you're putting into your body, then please take cognizance of the people who are trying to guide you in the right direction in this revolution that we're experiencing with craft gin. South Africa doesn't have a gin culture. We're trying to create it, and my fear is that if you're awarding mediocrity and you present that mediocrity to a newbie to the system or to the category, they might go, "Oh no, this is terrible. I don't care much for gin." However, if you introduce them to something exceptional, as a first experience, they might actually learn to fall in love with the category, like I have, and like so many people have down the line that I've come into contact to, or that I've taken through tastings, or that I've told the beautiful stories and the history. And that's kind of where my head's at, is just we need people to trust our opinions. And the question is, can people trust those little stickers on a bottle? Can they trust it? The moment they realize they can't, you're going to have a problem in this country. When they realize they can't trust what's on the bottle, then we're going to lose the industry. We could potentially lose the industry. It's just an opinion.